Welcome to Taboo Talks Latina Edition. Yo soy Cynthia.
And I'm Jeanette.
And we're here to have those real, raw, and unfiltered conversations that Latinas actually need. This is a space where we celebrate our roots, but also challenge those taboos that have shaped us for way too long.
Aquí hablamos de todo, what we were taught, what we were told not to question, and what we are redefining. Porque nuestra misión es clara, inspirar, empoderar y conectar a todas las mujeres latinas con el poder de nuestras historias.
So whether you're tuning in for some deep talks or just to vibe with us, this is your space to embrace exactly who you are. Ahora, chicas, let's introduce our guest of the day. Hoy nos acompaña Judith Perez. She is the ultimate modern millennium woman, content creator, storyteller, and fiercely real. She shares the raw, unfiltered side of motherhood, marriage, nutrition, and beauty, creating a space where women can feel seen and heard. With a growing presence on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Threads, Judith connects her audience to relatable moments and honest conversation.
Bienvenidas, Judith. So happy to have you here.
Hola, hola.
Hola.
¿Cómo están? So glad to have you. Now that we know a little bit about you, let's get into today's topic. First up, we are going to talk about mental health. Mental health en nuestra comunidad latina, because let's be real, right? Many of us grew up hearing, tienes comida y techo, de qué te quejas? Like our emotions didn't matter.
And then we're diving into redefining Latina womanhood, honoring our roots, empowering our future. Because as much as we love our culture, we also have to find the balance between tradition and the modern Latina we are today. Prepárense porque esta conversación será real, raw, and necessary. So let's dive in, Cynthia.
Mental health. Tienes comida y techo, ¿de qué te quejas? La salud mental sigue siendo un tabú en muchas familias latinas. There's this side that if you're not struggling physically, you don't have a right to talk about your emotions.
So, Judith, how was your experience with mental health growing up? Did you feel like you could openly talk about your emotions, or was it something you learned as an adult?
Definitely something I learned as an adult. More so because of my father, but not so much because of my mother. I know we usually hear, la madre, la que causes a lot of like emotional trauma in their child's life because of their lack of understanding and self-awareness. But my mom, fortunately, thank God, was not so much like that. My mom was very understanding. She's the closest person to a therapist that I've known in my entire family.
Beautiful.
So it never been a struggle for me to express my emotions with her. However, my father was a little different. Bueno, mi papá era dominicano, tenía un poco de haitiano, pero para él era dominicano. Y entonces él creció de una forma, bueno, ya ustedes saben, que a veces los hombres dominicanos son bien machistas y unfortunately he just didn't have the tools to raise us to be emotionally available. So it was a little bit more of a struggle with him. However, like I said, with my mom, it was a blessing to have her around because it was definitely, she brought more balance and made me feel a lot more willing to share my emotions with her.
That was wonderful. Because usually, and I love what you just shared, because usually it's our moms, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's always a reflection of our moms. And this side of your story, it's your dad. And I'm sure so many women out there can relate too, that it's not just the mom, that there's also the dad, right? And it can make a huge impact in your ability to get to speak about certain topics or just get to talk about it openly, because it's como un tabú que no se habla, que no se toca.
Yep. Dad hurt or daddy issues in the Hispanic community. I feel like it's spoken, I could be wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like it's openly discussed a lot more in the African American community. Like you'll hear that word or that term thrown around of daddy issues. You hear that a lot.
I do.
Pero cuando se trata de la comunidad hispana o latino, para mí que como que se enfocan más en lo que hizo la mamá.
Yeah, no, that's true, yeah. Y muchas cosas, muchas veces en casas latinas, los sentimientos se dicen con frases como, eso es cosa de gringo, o solo reza y sigue adelante. Why do you think our parents struggle so much with validating our emotions?
Yeah, no, for sure. And when you speak like that, it's my dad, my dad's side, for sure. My dad's side, the Dominican side, because my mom's Honduran. A lot of people would think that she's Dominican because she assimilated to the culture, being around my dad and his family more than her family. But my dad, the funny thing is that he actually dealt with mental health and issues, and he wasn't the only one in the family. His brother also dealt with mental health. Closer to me, my sister dealt with mental health. So it wasn't something that we weren't aware of. It was just something that
we don't talk about.
Like,
Yeah.
mándala para donde tiene que ir, que se recupere y volvemos para atrás, como que sin nada. Y se sigue la rutina.
Yeah. Did he acknowledge his mental health issue? Because I know that's pretty hard for Hispanic Latinos, right? They don't say, they don't touch on that at all, porque, you know, después creen que son locos.
Right. No. And it's so funny because my mom came to visit not that long ago, and I asked her, my father passed. So I'm not, and our relationship was botched because of this specific topic. But I asked my mom, I was like, mami, papi alguna vez cogió terapia o algo porque yo vi que él llegaba para el hospital, volvía y como que sin nada, pero ¿ustedes han hablado sobre de dónde viene eso, de la ruta, like the root of the problem? Like, did he ever seek counseling? And she was like, no, imagínate, yo fui la terapia para él.
Wow.
So, yeah. And then she also said when he was in the hospital, because when you're dealing with mental health, I assume someone like a therapist will come in to, you know, evaluate you or whatnot. She said that one time she was there and someone came in to do that. And la terapia le dijo a él que se lleve de su esposa, que ella sabe de lo que está hablando.
Wow. Now, can you just imagine the burden that your mom had to carry, right? Because if she, like she said, you know, I was his therapist. Imagine the emotional stability that she had to almost like put up for him. Yeah. Wow.
Without
Strong
the proper
mama.
tools.
Right.
Without the proper tools, because my mom
hard.
wasn't even raised by her parents. She raised herself, basically. So I give my mom all the praise in the world. But yeah, I don't think he ever, to be honest with you, I feel like his depression is what took his life. So he didn't ever come to that self-awareness for himself. But I learned from that, and I'm able to carry that on in my life and make sure that my children, my boys, because I'm raising men, learn from that experience, and they have someone that can guide them in the right path.
That's beautiful.
And that is something hard to hear from our culture, right? Because it's different perspective. Like, either you could have just said, well, it runs in my family. I have it. My kids are going to have it. And, you know, I can't complain about it. Or you take the perspective that you have today, that I am raising my boys. They're going to be men, you know?
Right.
We're going to know, like, to speak openly about this, and I'm going to be okay. And I get goosebumps talking about that, because it's really sad in today's world, right? And I feel mental health, it's not really acknowledged because of our Latina culture, but also because we feel that we're crazy when we talk about it, right? Oh, everybody has depression. Oh, everybody's going through stress. Oh, so then they put you in this space where you should be okay with it. And you shouldn't. Like, you know, there is a way out. And if you find the right people and you surround yourself with the right tools and the right systems, you're able to pull out from that. So I love that message, Judith, because it's so hard to find and hear from today. And changing that perspective that you're putting now in your household. Because I know therapy and self-care are sometimes seen as luxury in like our culture, right? So my
It's
question to
necessary.
you now, it's how do you normalize taking care of your mental health as something as important as any other aspect of your body, like going to the gym to look good, right? Or eating better for your body. Like, why don't we normalize that mental health? Like, what do you do daily? And what advice can you
Daily?
give others to help, especially with what you went through, and to make sure you don't fall into that and you don't pass that on to your kids?
Bueno, mi gente, yo le voy a ser sincera. Ahora mismo estoy in my third trimester. So everything's gone to... se ha ido para donde tiene que ir mientras tanto. But normally, when I'm not with child, you know, growing limbs and all these different systems, I'm very into my nutrition. That actually hasn't changed. That never changes. Those who follow me on Instagram always see in my stories, I'm always posting, I'm more of a plant-based person. So I'm always posting inspiration for like the plant-based community. I have my little seafood here and there because I'm Garifuna, and Garifunas, you already know.
Yes.
And especially, you know, if you from Boca Chica también, ustedes saben que ese pescado frito va, ya lo sabes. So yes, I'll enjoy my fish here and there, but my point is nutrition is very important to me. So I focus on my nutrition for my well-being. And I also typically work out, but because of this situation we got going on and you know, preterm history, unfortunately, I haven't been able to hone in on that. But typically I would. So fitness, nutrition, therapy, 100% recommended. 100% recommended. I'm in therapy currently, and that's been very helpful to hone in my emotional stability. Also, although I don't do it as much as I would like to, but in 2025, we're going to change that, okay? I've been reading more books, okay? Reading books like the Emotional Intelligence book, it's very good, and I recommend it to everyone in this community, everyone in any culture. Read about your emotional intelligence, learn about your emotional intelligence. You'll be so surprised how that drives your relationship, whether it's platonic, romantic, or parenting. It's just overall a great way to find self-awareness. So those are some of the ways that I help myself get to where I need to be, because there's no destination at this moment. It's just one step at a time, moving forward towards improvement.
And the
Yeah,
fact that
that's
you share
beautiful.
that, being raw and real. Porque hay que tener las cuentas claras. Not every day we're going to levantarnos and we're going to be like, oh my
Yes.
gosh, today is amazing. And we're not going to, you know, our mental is not going to go down the drain, but it's what we do daily to make sure we don't fall on that trap of not taking care of mental health. And we already told you, but here openly, congratulations again. What a blessing.
Thank you.
Yes.
I have my two boys, and Cynthia has her family too. So we know how much it takes to have to rebuild over and over again, especially motherhood. So celebrating you today for that.
Thank you. Wait, are you a boy mom too, Cynthia?
I'm mixed. I have girls
You're
too.
mixed.
Yeah,
Okay. You
yeah.
got the sassy ones with you too.
I don't know. I debate. I think my girls are easier to raise than my boys. My boys, I have two teens, and then my little one. They're just so rough. I don't know. Boys naturally, they're just so rough, and my girls are so calm. So I don't know. Knock on wood.
For now.
That they stay like that.
And fighting, and I'm like, just give me a break, and pulling my hair, and I'm like,
yeah, boys are, I don't know. This is my third boy. So we don't know what raising a girl looks like over here, but I can only imagine the challenges that are different, you know, and they come in different forms. And
100%.
God bless. I don't know if I'll know
All
one
of us.
day. Cause three, nada más
Three
falta que
boys.
me salga el cuarto. Yo le dije a mi mamá, was like, bueno, ya yo sé que hay que cambiar el hombre, porque si me salieron tres machos, hay que cambiar el hombre porque él es que ficha ahí.
So,
Él
yo
es
fíjate que la
culpa
niña
de
no
él.
viene o intenta, como dice mi mamá, que me dijo un día, no, lo que vas a hacer es un baseball team. Pero bueno, I mean,
I know.
if you keep trying, you don't know, right? It's like, bueno, ahorita
Yeah.
vas a hacer un baseball team. I'm like, no, but you never know. You know,
Ujú.
third, the
Yeah.
fourth, the fifth, it's a shark.
50-50 chance.
It's just a blessing overall.
Yeah.
Yeah. And before we dive into our second topic, I just had one quick last question. When did you realize, or when did you go into therapy, right? Because as a Hispanic woman, you know, and with our culture and what we know, did it take you a while to say, okay, no, I need therapy and I'm going to normalize it?
No, I've always been intrigued with the idea of becoming more self-aware. Like, it intrigues me. Like, just trying to figure out how people think or why I think the way I do. Um, but I will say there was a turning point that really like made me question, dang, I think therapy would be good for me. And that was after my firstborn child. I went through a very traumatic experience postpartum. Um, well, even before postpartum, I was rushed through to a C-section at 30 weeks. So I had a preterm baby, and he was at the NICU for a whole month. And the entire time that he was at the NICU, I was at home just trying, and it was postpartum also influencing this, trying to figure out how I'm going to be the best mom. So I very much dive deep into, okay, who am I? Who are the people that raised me? Who did I grow up with? Like, I broke it down, and it's so crazy because I haven't even spoke about this on YouTube. I do need to one day. I've been shying away from it, but I think it's very necessary. Although postpartum influenced me to kind of go into like this craze of obsessing over my self-awareness, it also triggered something in me that made me want to become a better person. Because like I mentioned earlier, it affects every relationship you have. And so, yeah, it was never something that I pushed away because I thought somebody would think I was crazy. I was always intrigued by it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm glad to hear because I know a lot of us, you know, in the Hispanic community, like you said, we shy away because people are going to have their opinions. Oh, somos locos, soy de loco.
Yeah.
So,
With the whole
yeah.
postpartum aspect, which I encourage you to definitely talk about it on your channel, and over on social media, because that's something also that as women we don't talk about. I know I had my two boys and I had them within a year and a half apart, and I didn't feel the postpartum hit me until after my second. That he was already like 6 months in. That's when I was like, wow, because I was such in a rush that when I finally was able to, what I say, like calm down and kind of like bring all my sense together, it hit me. And I was like, what's going on with me? I didn't know what was happening. And I felt lost, lonely, depression, anxiety, everything hit. And it's because we don't talk about it. So we hear it happens, and it can happen to a certain percent of women, but I feel we all deal with it differently. So hearing that story
Absolutely.
and who you are today and what you've overcome, that's very beautiful and powerful. Thank you for sharing it.
Yes. Okay, now our second topic, redefining Latina womanhood, honoring our roots and empowering our future. Ser Latina es un orgullo, but it comes with a lot of expectation and pressure. We're expected to be caring, selfless, and muchas veces put ourselves last.
So Judith, when did you realize you could honor your culture without fitting into the traditional good Latina women mold? Like this image that they say we have to be.
Bueno, my sass is not going nowhere. It's here to stay. Okay. So, and I'm very proud of that. Okay. And I blame my Latina culture for that. And it's a good blame because when I need to put my foot down, I put my foot down. All right. So I'm very proud of my culture and the sass that it put within me. Okay. So, however, the balance comes when you're able to be sassy and, be who you are because of how you were raised and the culture that you have on your back. But there's also a way to go about it. There's this humility that you can have and still be sassy. So like for instance, to give you an example with my children, when I have to put my foot down, I put it down. But I can also come back and be like, did I do that the right way? Or is there a better way I can go about it? What do you think? How are you feeling? Unfortunately, a lot of generations before us is just sass and that's it. I said what I said and
Yeah.
I love that.
estate quieto.
Yeah.
Yes.
And don't answer me back.
And don't question me.
Yeah.
Porque yo soy tu papá. O porque yo soy tu mamá.
Yeah.
O no, porque yo dije.
Yeah.
Y se acabó.
Y ya. Se acabó. Se acabó. Pero no, so like I'm able to bring the culture, but yet, question certain things when I need to question it so that I'm not tarnishing my children's mental health. Instead, I'm guiding them, holding their hand. And, if I got to call you out on what you're doing, I'm going to call you out. You're going to hear it. Pero a la vez, ¿cómo lo podemos hacer mejor la próxima vez?
Yeah,
Yes.
no, that's beautiful. There's a fine line between respecting our roots and feeling trapped by them, right? So what you said was beautiful. And then how do we find that? I think, we touched about a little bit about this, but how do you find that balance between keeping our traditions alive, but also evolving into who we truly want to be?
Asking questions. My children are very young right now, so I know that there's only so much I can ask and receive from them, but just nurturing, giving that space to understand, and also giving yourself grace because we're all learning. I'm still unlearning things, because I can't sit here and say, oh, the sass is always coming at the right time. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes it's like instant, but that's just generational. However, it's not an excuse to question it.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was deep. And I have a deeper question for you, Judith. Que sé que vas a tocar like your inner child of like really digging deep, right? Like what we live today, we pass on tomorrow, right? That phrase that we use. What is one lesson or value from our culture that you want to pass on to the next generation? And what is one that you want to leave behind?
Ooh.
That's a good one.
I have goosebumps because I'm just thinking of myself, right? So I can only imagine with your culture, like with what you live. What would be it?
So a lesson, and I have to always bring it back to my father. Like I mentioned earlier, depression kills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It kills. Like closing yourself in, bottling up all those emotions is not healthy. Men, women, find a way to express yourself. When you feel like you're holding on to too much, llegando al teteo, bebiéndose una cerveza, bebiéndose un romo o una botella entera no te va a ayudar. No te va a ayudar. Eso lo que empeora, if anything, it makes it worse for you. And you just spiral. And so the lesson I learned from my past, my childhood, is journaling, therapy, walking, having an amicable conversation is a better way to express yourself. and learn and cope with those feelings instead of bottling it in, closing the blinds, laying in bed in darkness, in sorrow, or worse, acting like you're okay, but you're really not.
Mm.
I want to break that. It's done. It ended with my father and it will not continue with my children. So that's the lesson that I learned, and I hope to pass on and leave a legacy of strong men that are able to express their feelings, but still, put their foot down when they need to.
That's beautiful. And I hope you know that you are doing that now.
Yes.
Yes. So
That
that's
was
beautiful.
and I love the fact that you share about you can do all of that, but it's still not going to matter because you're still going to be even worse on the same boat and even worse than how you were. Porque a veces nosotros, como uno dice, como una relación, un clavo saca a otro. Pero en el final, you don't have time to heal, right? And that still affects and it leaves the old habits and all the old things that happen with that relationship, and you pass it on to the new one. Why? Because you never dig deep and really released it, right? So then you think that you're forgetting by replacing, but you're not. You're making it worse. And the same thing goes to working on our mindset and our mental health. Like, nos emborrachamos, salimos y pensamos que nos olvidamos en el momento, sí. It makes you forget,
Yeah.
right? And it helps numb the pain. That was the word I was looking for. But then it will come back 10 times worse. So I love that you brought that up because I've seen it and I've heard stories and they always go back to that, thinking that's going to help them and it gets worse.
Oh, yeah. El teteo pa' cuando, siempre. El teteo. La terapia pa' cuando.
Yeah.
That's what we should be saying.
Yeah, I was going to say that should be the new phrase and
La
normalize
terapia
it.
pa' cuando.
Yes.
Wow, that was so beautiful. Y bueno, ya estamos llegando al final de esta conversación, pero antes de irnos tenemos que hacer la pregunta obligatoria, porque let's be real, todos tenemos una tía chismosa, ¿verdad?
Yes.
Yes. The one who always has something to say, whether you want her to say it or not. So, amiga, spill the tea. What's the last thing your tía chismosa has said to you?
Bueno, hablando de pa' cuando, it goes perfect. La niña pa' cuando. Pero tía, deja que yo termine por lo menos sacar a este niño de mí.
Yeah.
Di que la niña pa' cuando. Los pampes pa' cuando.
Yeah.
La leche, ¿para
Los
cuándo?
wipes, la leche pa' cuando.
Yes.
Oh my
The
God,
new
true.
area pa' cuando, porque tú me estás mandando a mí el cuarto o la cuarta. No se sabe, porque puede ser 4 boys y después tú me vas a decir a mí, la niña pa' cuando. Ah, tú lo haces.
Que porque siempre la pregunta, like, you have to, ¿la niña para cuándo? Si hubieses tenido la niña y vas a tener otro niño. So it's like, can I finish
Yes.
and like have this moment?
Right.
It's never enough. They want the next, the next, the next.
Chismos.
Oh, that's awesome. That was a good one. And then, of course, before we let you go, we would love to know what upcoming projects you have and if you can shout out all your social. We do include it on the show notes, but we always want to give you the spotlight to share.
Okay. So, like you guys heard, my name is Judith Perez. Pero en las redes sociales me pueden conseguir at I'm Juju P. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, Threads. On TikTok, you go there if you want a little bit more of the fun side of me. Like if you want to see me dance un poquito de bachata, merengue, perico ripiao, punta. I haven't tapped into that again because of the belly. You guys can't see it right now, but you can go back and see that personality. On YouTube, I plan on posting a lot more sit downs. I don't know if I want to call it a podcast yet, but I do want to sit down and have more conversations like these. Like, for instance, daddy issues. I do want to tap more into that because I know it's going to help a lot of women out there, especially in the Latina community, because I dealt with a very strong father. And yeah, just overall sharing my pregnancy journey right now. Like I said, I'm ready to pop, and I will be soon sharing my birth story. praying con Dios en adelante que todo salga bien. And yes, so you can find me at IMJUJUP on all social media platforms. Tap into my YouTube for sure and my Instagram for daily in-betweens.
Beautiful. And we will for sure add everything like Cynthia said on the show notes. Pero gracias, Judith, por compartir hoy tu historia, your challenges, all your energy with us today. Y antes de irnos, invitación oficial, and we would love to have you on as well for our next one. Únese a nuestro Jarrito Taboo Life en Instagram, donde seguimos rompiendo tabús con preguntas rápidas y muy divertidas.
Yes, don't miss it, and make sure to follow us for more conversation like this. You can follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube. Make sure to subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you on the next episode. And to our listeners and Judith, thank you so much for tuning in.
Gracias.
Bye, chicas.
Bye.